So there's a podcast. We got the what's it like to be a Jehovah's Witness family in Ireland? Okay, what's this got to say? Testing 1 2 1 2. What it's like to be a Jehovah's Witness family living in Ireland. Adherence to biblical strictures provides a solid base in an increasingly secular world. And there's some pictures of these Jehovah's Witness girls. Now, I'm going to try and get myself on the screen. I'm going to try and record this. The recorder's launching. We have, we're going to go with just the screen. Narration nil. It's not going to go with the narration. Yeah. Oh, well. The 21st century of Ireland. When your child is at primary school, there are times when I'm going to try and record this, folks. There are times when it seems there is a party nearly every weekend, but not for those growing up with the Jehovah's Witnesses as parents. They don't do birthdays. Now, we had a birthday party here last night, viewers. I shared it with you, didn't I? I shared it. I don't mind, says Effin Wall from Cocork. Let's just see if I can. I'll cancel that. From Cocork. Does he tell his classmates why he can't accept their invitations? I use the Bible, he says, to explain that God doesn't like false celebrations. His reply solemnly, well, that's not true. That's not true. God doesn't mind. We would do parties. Okay, Effin's parents, Reese and Kelly, stress that they have no other events to look forward to. We would do parties for them all the time, says Kelly, nodding towards Ethan and his 7-year-old sister Ruby, who are busy with biblical colouring in sheets. I think sometimes because you are conscious of it, you make sure there are plenty for them. Biggest gathering of Jehovah's Witnesses in Ireland, a 3-day convention at the City West Convention Centre on the outskirts of Dublin. There's an air of a huge wedding party, so smartly dressed are one and all. Males of all ages are at least in shirts and ties, if not 3-piece suits, while the girls and women flock around in elegant dresses of all descriptions. There isn't a pair of denim jeans in sight. Enthusiastic greetings between friends and couples, walking around hand in hand, odds to the loved-up atmosphere. Nearly all the 6,000 plus active members of these witness congregations around Ireland attend the convention. The span of ages from the occupants of dozens of budgies neatly parked in rows at a backstage area of the vast auditorium, right through the senior citizens, is indicative of the close-knit family nature of this religious community. Now, it may look that way on the surface, but is that necessarily so? So what is life like for Jehovah's Witness families in an increasing secular Ireland? A few of the convention attendees agree that to talk Heath plus family about what they do and why. Back on the topics of birthdays, David Dooley says the lack of celebrations never bothered him and his brother growing up in Cork. Often it is more an issue to other people because they don't understand. My parents were always very good. They tried to make a real effort of other occasions. My parents' wedding anniversary would always be a family day. The kids would all get something. Well, that's a little bit muddled up, isn't it, when you think about the kids getting something for somebody's wedding anniversary? Birthday celebrations. Now, he and his wife, Rosalind, who was also raised as a witness in Cork, take a similar approach at the home in Galway with their children. Madison, who will be there, will be 3 in September, and 6-month-old Joshua. Their non-observance of age milestones stems from the fact that 2 birthday celebrations featured in the Bible didn't end well. John the Baptist was beheaded on King Herod's birthday. Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. Well, Pharaoh, and on the day of his birthday feast, had the chef baker killed. Now, isn't that they don't have birthdays because John the Baptist was beheaded on Herod's birthday, and Pharaoh had the chief guy killed, the chief baker killed on his birthday. Now, hello, Fukushima. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Fukushima? You can hear me. Oh, terrific. How are you going? I'm reading a story from the Irish Times. Hello. And it's about the Jehovah's Witnesses in Ireland. And they're saying that the non-observance of age milestones stems from the fact that 2 birthday celebrations featured in the Bible didn't end well. John the Baptist was beheaded on King Herod's birthday because the daughter of Herodias wanted his head on a platter and she got it, while Pharaoh, on the day of his birthday feast, had his chief baker killed. Now, when we think about these situations that took place, John the Baptist was a victim of something that was outside his circumstances. He wasn't in the birthday. So let me ask you this, Fukushima. If you were having a birthday party, do you think it'd end up in a malicious murder and a beheading? Or if say, for instance, the caterer didn't cook the sausage rolls right or something like that, you'd want to have them killed? We don't live in those days. We're not pharaohs and Herods. We're just common people. These were powerful, misaligned people. Now, we celebrated my son's 20th birthday here last night. It wasn't planned. All the family turned up and kids turned up, and we had a fantastic night. Why is it that religious organizations get carried away with these horrible, horrible ideas? Do you believe in birthdays? Let's just ask. Do you? Where are we? Let's ask. Down here. Do you believe in birthdays? I do. There's a question. Now, surprisingly, perhaps these Christians also disregard December 25 as just another day, also Easter Sunday, but they do celebrate the occasion of the Last Supper as the memorial of Christ's death, but they only do it once a year. Now, the Bible says we can do it whenever we want. And when they do it, now when the Jehovah's Witnesses do communion, they pass the communion around. And if you're not one of the 144,000, you pass it around. You see it getting passed around like a hot potato. They pass the communion around like a hot potato. Yet the Bible says you can have communion whenever you want. There's nothing religious about it. I can have communion now, right now, if I want. I could have communion right now if I wanted to, just to remember what the Lord did on the cross. So why, again, are people making up? Now, the 144,000, just let me say to the people listening, are a group of Israeli people who have been saved in the church age, who have ascended into heaven to be with Christ through their faith in his finished work at the cross. Now, just before he comes down to stop Armageddon and save the nation of Israel, there'll be 144,000 descend from heaven into the Great Tribulation period, which is the second 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. They'll come down into the chaos and they'll get out as many believers as they can before Armageddon is concluded, when Jesus comes to the Mount of Olives and saves Israel and wipes out its enemies and brings about the end of Armageddon. Now, the 144,000 will take out the last reaping from the tribulation period, and that will be what their job is. Then Jesus comes down to the Mount of Olives, and all the believers that are with him They save Israel, and then the millennium begins. That's what the 144,000 do. They're not some special class in a religion that's the only ones going to heaven. What amazes me about the Jehovah's Witnesses is when they actually leave the ground, when the rapture takes place, because they believe in Christ, they're going to get a big shock, aren't they? So they've got issues with birthdays. They've got issues with Christmas. Oh, gosh, come on. They've got issues with Easter, but they will have hang on, I'm coming now, Fukushima. They'll have memorial once a year. Now, Fukushima says this: Revelation 16 indicates a great earthquake that destroys the cities of the earth. It does. It does, and that's very probably will happen. And it's probably going to be a part of the signs of the end. Now, the thing with Revelation is, now that we've got all this media and the world's covered by media reports, we can know about every earthquake and every volcano and everything that happens and takes place that night. In those days, they didn't have this global technology that kept people informed. Now, where this great earthquake's going to take place, we don't know. But we can say, for instance, when Jesus was crucified on the cross, there was a big earthquake, wasn't there? Runaway slave, good day, mate. How you? Oh, that's the drummer. Good day, mate. How are you? When I would attend the memorial of Jesus Christ, I always did not feel right about it. It was after leaving that I realized it was a black mass. Passing the bread and wine is rejecting Jesus. Well, even before I came a Christian runaway slave, I didn't see any problem with all of this. It's been over religion. They've taken religion and they've massacred it. Jesus is a friend just like you and I are friends, even though I've never met you. I've never met you, but in a way I know you through YouTube and watching your presentations. I know you, but I don't know you. It's the same with Jesus. It's just the same with Jesus. If you want to take something for communion, just take it and say, thanks, Lord, for what you did, and move on. Yeah, this juggling the communion like it's some kind of hot potato, it's terrible, isn't it? I hope you're doing well, runaway slave. Now, Fukushima says, Revelation 16:19, the great city split in three parts and the cities of the nations collapse. Yeah, well, they will. Hi, Joanna, how are you? That's my daughter there as well. All sorts of stuff is going to take place at the end. But the bottom line is this: the USA, Australia, and places like that, they're only going to get the ripple effect of Armageddon. And what do I mean by that? Well, many of you might know. The primary assault is going to be upon Israel. There's going to be nations that want to destroy it and nations that want to save it. Now, the ripple effect of this is going to be the nations that want to destroy it are going to get upset with the nations that want to save it. And so the nations that want to destroy it will probably bomb and attack the ones that are trying to save it. And that's going to be the ripple effect of what's happening specifically in Israel. Armageddon, you could be sitting in the Caribbean smoking cigars and Armageddon could be taking place and it may not even affect you. Depends how it unfolds. So, yeah, it's good to hear. I'm waiting for your next drum. I'm waiting for your next drum thing. I thought that was liberating. I thought that was a statement, runaway slave, that said to people, there's a life to live and there's a life to enjoy. And one of my big things about religion is this. What worries me about it is anything we think we need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. And this is what religions thrive on because they leave people guessing. You're coming back to get the next idea for the next week. And it's not just in Jehovah's Witnesses. We just got to get down to the basics and say, when Jesus died on the cross and he said it was finished, it was finished. Now, what did he mean by that? Well, he's empowered us to get out and play the drums as best we can or get out and live. You've just got to get out and live. Everything's okay. Everything's been done. But we fuffle on and we kerfuffle on. And that's how we get caught up in these horrible religions, which can take a decade or two out of your life, and you look back and you go, where did that go? It's gone before you can even blink an eye. There's no time for it. We've got to realize that what Jesus did is enough. When we think we've got to make God happy or stop him from being sad, we're actually turning ourselves evil, because Romans 7 says the thing that made Paul evil was his overemphasis of trying to make God happy or stop him from being sad by what he was trying to do, which is basically what the law said, wasn't it? If you do this, I'll do that. If you don't do this, I'll smack you. That's what the law was about. But the problem with the law was they couldn't keep it because we were unable to. So when you've got a religion, that's making you second guess if everything that is all right with Christ, and they prey on naive people because it takes years and years to realize that everything is all right with what Christ did. Now, you could be a Jehovah's Witness standing at the carts, and you're watching people go by. I was evangelist for 15 years, right? In the end, I realized, and I look to the camera, in the end, I realized that I'm trying to tell people about something that they already have. Now, there's two ways it can go. I can be looking at it and saying these sinners need Christ, or Christ has paid for these people already. They just need to know it. Now, the danger of that's this. If you usher people into the religion and they say, oh, gee, I really do need Christ, and you usher them into it, the danger is this. What our sinful nature needs is something in our mind that says, I can do things or not do things to make God happy or stop him from being sad. And as soon as we do that, we activate our sinful nature. That's why religion's dangerous. Some people without religion are much safer than people that are in religion. Why is it the people outside of religion are trying to undo the mess within it? Because the people within it don't want to admit it. Why are they so stubborn about admitting their faults? Because their sinful nature is so fueled up and so fired up because they want to make God happy and stop him from being sad. They're completely blind. That's why the Pharisees were blind. The Pharisees were put there to show us that you're just going to end up a mess if you try and make God happy or try and do things or not do things to make him happy or sad. It ends up in a mess. In fact, it ended up so bad, they put God himself on the cross, the people that were worshipping him. I know I get fired up about this, but it's so important and it's so basic. The bottom line's this. How free can you be? How free are you allowed to be? How free are you able to be? I'll tell you. Your ability and your capacity to be free goes as far as you can be without hurting yourself or somebody else. As soon as you start to hurt yourself or somebody else, you're not free. You're something else. There's something else going on. Let's see what the runaway slave's saying. You are right. Jesus said it is finished. I will be going a video soon about religion using fear. Please do. Please do. Guilt and obligation. Now listen to this. The runaway slave, viewers, spent 49 years in Watchtower fear. 49 years, and I bet it went like that. I bet it went like a blink, because that's what this thing does. You get so misled. Now I'm learning that Christ freed me. Now Christ has freed everybody. He's the author and finisher of our faith. We were free before we even got involved in religion. But they're not going to tell you that. And I'm going to close with this, viewers. When Adam ate, right, he ate on purpose. It says he ate on purpose because he loved Eve and he didn't want to let her go. Jesus in Romans 5:14 says, Paul said that Adam was a type of Christ in 5:14 of Romans. How could that be? Well, he ate because he loved Eve. So our identity comes from love, not from stupidity or evil. Now, it was consequential, but that's fine. When Jesus died on the cross, Hebrews said it was eternally better. And if we receive sin through Adam's involuntarily, if we receive it involuntarily, how much more do we receive righteousness through Christ involuntarily? Now, you know what that does? You're free to go. Get out and live. Look, get out and live. Look. Get out there and live. Because you were free all along. Jesus died on the cross for the world. Now, whether you know that or not, it's irrelevant. Oh, you're saying everybody's saved? Well, I hope so. Because if everybody's in sin because of what Adam did, how much more should they be saved because of what Jesus did, unconditionally and involuntarily? Romans 5 hints at it. But we don't want to hear that, do we? Because we have to do something ourselves. Our sinful nature has to have something to do to keep itself active. It's humbling to get to the point where you go, everything's all right. I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. What am I actually living for now? I've chased this religion. The train's gone on without me. They've left me behind. I didn't do what they wanted. And now they don't even want to know me. What are you actually now, seeing that what Jesus did is okay, actually living for? Well, I hope you find out what that is. I've gotten a bit fired up today. Thank you, Runaway Slave, for joining in. I appreciate it. And for Wishkma. I've had some sound problems, but I hope I'm resolving that. I do look forward to your next video, Runaway Slave. Take a lot of lessons from the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot. Valuable lessons, because they're experiential. They're not just, as you say, they're not just writings from no experience. So, yeah, thank you, Runaway Slave. I look forward to your next video. Fuishma says, the lake of molten sulfur is a place of cremation of remains, not eternal punishment. Well, whatever it is, I don't want to go there. So thank goodness for Jesus. Thank you for Jesus. Well, everybody, this is Pro Theologist. I'm going to upload some videos now. I've knocked off early today. Thank you for watching. I do encourage all of you. How free can you be? You can be as free as you want to be. Look, the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There's a little piece at the end. Against such things, there is no law, because in those things you're not harming yourself or anybody else. It just gets to me when I think about it. We were free all along, and we went into these things thinking we were finding an answer, only to get tangled up and muddled up. It's nobody's fault. We're all trying to do the right thing, but it didn't end up that way for us, because it was never that. It was never the intention. It was just never the intention. So God bless you all. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, Theologist. Thank you for listening. I look forward to, in some way, communicating with you more thoroughly. Bye for now.